In 1587, 120 settlers arrived on Roanoke, dreaming of a new beginning. Led by John White, they hoped to shape England's future in the New World. But when White returned, the colony had vanished, leaving only one haunting clue carved into a tree. Today, we uncover the evidence, the theories, and the stunning new clues behind the lost colony. The story begins in the scorching heat of a North Carolina summer, 1587. It was a new world, a place of untamed wilderness and unknown dangers. But for the 120 English men, women, and children aboard a small fleet, it was a land of promise. Their leader was John White, an artist and a man of vision, who had braved the Atlantic to found the city of Raleigh on Roanoke Island. He was not an ordinary governor. He was a father and a grandfather, with a personal stake in this ambitious dream. Among the colonists was his own daughter, Eleanor, and his granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. But the promise of a new life was quickly overshadowed by the harsh realities of the old. The fleet had arrived too late to plant crops, and food supplies were critically low. Tensions with some local Native American tribes, a direct result of previous English conflicts, added to the growing sense of desperation. The colonists realized they could not survive the coming winter without help. They had only one hope: John White. With a heavy heart and leaving his family behind, White was urged by his people to make a perilous journey back to England for supplies. Before he left, a plan was made. If they were forced to move, they would carve their new location into a tree or a post. To signal a hasty, dangerous departure, they would add a cross. It was a simple, desperate code, a promise to be found. John White's voyage back to England was a brutal trial by the elements. His ship was battered by storms and, in a stroke of bad luck, was intercepted by French pirates who mercilessly raided the vessel. But the greatest obstacle was not at sea. It was on land. He had walked into the eye of a political storm. By the time White reached England, Queen Elizabeth I had issued a royal order to keep all ships in port to prepare for the invasion of the Spanish Armada. The fate of the small colony was now in the hands of a global conflict. John White was a prisoner of war, stranded across an ocean from the very people he had sworn to protect. For 3 long years, the Spanish Armada held him captive in a country that felt a world away from the one where his granddaughter had just turned 3 years old. He could not return. He could only wait and wonder. Finally, in August 1590, John White sailed into the quiet waters of Roanoke Island. He had returned on the day of his granddaughter Virginia's 3rd birthday, a fact that must have weighed on his mind as he stepped onto the deserted shore. The settlement was gone. The houses, the fort, the gardens, everything had been dismantled and cleared away. An eerie, profound silence hung in the humid air, broken only by the lapping of waves. It was not the silence of a massacre, nor the scattered signs of a flight. It was an organized, methodical absence that was far more terrifying than the sound of battle. As he searched, White finally found his clues. The letters CRO carved into a tree, and more definitive, the word Croatoan carved into a palisade post. He desperately looked for the distress mark, the cross, but found none. The lack of the symbol was a small but profound comfort. It suggested the colonists had not been forced out by starvation or violence, but had willingly moved, just as they had planned. For more than 4 centuries, the lost colony of Roanoke has stood as one of history's most persistent mysteries. Theories of massacre, starvation, or peaceful assimilation have circulated without definitive proof. But modern archaeology has added new life to the debate. On Hatteras Island, researchers uncovered two clusters of 16th-century iron flakes, the waste of blacksmithing, suggesting the colonists were not simply enduring hardship, but actively forging tools and adapting to their surroundings. This evidence of European metalwork on Croatoan Island strongly supports the idea that the settlers survived by joining the local tribe. Some scholars remain cautious, waiting for structural remains or a Christian burial site. But these iron traces offer a compelling possibility that the colonists did not vanish in tragedy, but reshaped their lives within a new culture, turning mystery into a story of survival and transformation. Their fate may reflect resilience rather than loss yet.